Hello and welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today in Beautiful Literature with me, Teacher Martha. Thank you so much. And today we are following up with our discussion on the Samaritan, a wonderful text, and it's a compulsory text. And we begin with Act 1, Scene 1. I hope you've been able to look at the previous video when we were talking about the setting, the title, and the cover of the page. So now our first video on this, we are at Act 1 and Scene 1, and it begins. The play begins in a very normal situation. We actually, as students, can really identify with this because it begins in a school setup where we have the uniform. We are in our uniform. We have a function. We are in the dining hall, and the teachers are here, and we have external leaders who are coming. Our municipality leaders are coming. And so the setting is in Sagrada Secondary School, and in the school hall, and it's at 10 a.m. And it's the end of the year closing day. So you can know the excitement of the closing day. And of course, we are expecting visitors, and these visitors are not coming just to visit. They're coming because there is an important function that is going on. And that function is the launch of the winning innovation in secondary schools national innovation competition. There was a competition that was going on, and the app that is being launched today was the one that won in this competition, the national innovation competition. And therefore they've been invited to come and launch it. That these are the leaders who are coming. And therefore in page 2, we can see the leaders who are present in that meeting, who are coming in that meeting. And so we can see the mayor, and the mayor is coming in, and I hope we know who the name of the mayor. We also can see Miss Narin, who is the principal of the school. And we can see the description of these people, and especially the mayor. The mayor is a tall, heavy man called Mosi. It's important for you at the back of your mind to always remember the vivid description. It's a stylistic device used. Why is the author telling you that the mayor is tall, heavy man? He's called Mr. Mosi, but popularly known as Mosi or Tunya, okay? Which means the smoke that thunders. I'm thinking about the smoke that thunders. Does smoke thunder? And why the smoke? I think I would want to hear. What do you think? Why do you think he's referred to as the smoke that thunders? Where did that come from? Do you think, even looking at the text, the things that we've come across, Mayor Mosi, do you think that title befits him? And what style is that we are using right now when you're talking about the smoke that thunders? I don't know. I would want us to talk about it by the time we are talking about character and characterization later in the text. And so next to enter is the deputy mayor. It's also important to note him because he will feature very much. Deputy mayor, who is an older man, is actually older. He's older than Mayor Mosi, and he's called Honorable Ramdai. It's important for you to mark those characters. Then we have the municipal political opposition leader. There is even an opposition leader. So there is the mayor, Mosi. Then he has his deputy, that is Ramdai. And then he also has Basdeo. That is the opposition leader. I hope in your mind you're able to see the leaders we have. Who is the mayor of which your county? Who is the deputy? Do you know the deputy of your county? And who is the opposition leader of your county? Not nationwide. We also have the CEO. That is the Chief Executive Officer of Maracas Municipality. I hope you know that there's a CEO, there is a mayor. Those are two different people. You need to remember that. He's called Mr. Harvester. And members of the local board were also present in that meeting. And of course, they all walk in. And I want you to note something about Mayor Mosi. Wherever you will see him, he has 3 things in his hands. He has 2 things in his hands. Number 1, he has 3 mobile phones. I wonder why he needs 3. He has 3 mobile phones always in his hands. And his broad-brimmed hat, he has a hat on that is broad-brimmed. And he has a walking stick. Remember, he's a tall and heavy man. So those 3 things. He has 3 phones, he has a hat, and he has a walking stick. So what does he do? He places it on the table. Always he places those Now 3 plus 1 plus 1, those 5 things on the table. How does that look? The first impression you get by someone who is looking like that, what comes to your mind? I would want to hear what you think. What kind of an image is created? And so when they come in, of course, they are welcomed by the school, and I will avoid going into that. And then we have the principal, who comes in and describes, and I mean, she's described as a motherly, tall, plump lady in her late 50s, with an aura of authority about her. She's dressed in her trademark style, comprising flowery Banarasi silk sari and headscarf. Now, I wanted you to note something about Miss Nareen, Madame Nareen, that she's motherly, tall, plump ladies in her late 50s. I want you to think about the interaction of Miss Nareen and Nicole as they go on. How does Miss Nareen respond to Nicole as time goes on? Is she very happy about what Nicole is doing and the app and the ripple effect of this app is even in the school? Why do you think Miss Nareen is saying, I don't want this thing to go on anymore. I want you to tone down. Don't try to provoke people. Do you see her age? She's in her late 50s. I kept thinking that if I was in my late 50s and I'm the principal in a school, do I really want to upset people for no reason? And then I find myself even struggling and maybe losing my job or getting, fired or something like that. I keep thinking that her age is what makes her feel like, I don't want to fight this battle that this young girl is trying to do. It's important for us to remember. But remember, she's motherly, she's tall, she's plump. She's tall and plump, So you can imagine how she looks and in her late 50s. But she has an aura of authority around her. Then we have... she goes ahead and does an introduction, and of course she calls Alvita and Montano, the students who are able to come up with this app, and of course then she also calls Miss Nicole. I would want us to also look at the description of Miss Nicole, because it is very, very important for us to note that she's young. Remember, the principal is in her late 50s, but Nicole is young, she's tall, she's light-skinned, lady of medium build, a renowned beauty, and an uncompromising moralist. That already is enough. She's sporting a wavy side ponytail hairstyle and is smartly dressed in a black skirt and a white blouse. Just the physical appearance of Miss Nicole, what does that tell you about this girl, this teacher? I think she stands out as a very, just a beautiful, a renowned beauty, uncompromising moralist, light-skinned. I hear that the light-skinned are beautiful. I don't know, because many times I keep thinking that it's dark and lovely, but even light-skinned is still very beautiful. But she's light-skinned, she's young, and she's tall, and she's medium build. She's not very plump, she's not very slender. So really, the playwright has made sure that Madame Nicole is perfect. I think it's a perfect in all ways. She has beauty and brains, as they say. So she can do quite a bit. You cannot put her down and body shame her and tell her, look at you, what do you think you're doing? She has all that she's got as far as beauty is concerned, and brains she's got. And so Miss Nicole is asked to come and say something, and she does not even say very much. What she does immediately is invite her students to come and present a skit they have. And the next part of the text takes us through the skit between these two young students, that is Alvita and Montano, and then they also bring Madame Nicole as part of the cast, the three of them. And this skit is so important. The style, of course, is a play within a play, and of course it has a bit of foreshadowing, because it has an ability to take us into the future. I'm hoping that we can be able to see, by the time we are finishing, we'd want to see where this skit falls into as far as the text is concerned. And of course, we don't want to go into the details of what happened in the skit, but this skit, the characters are discussing about two possibilities of the country and the world and the municipality they're living in. And we have Montano. Montano says that he has traveled into the future about 50 years from now. I don't know, how old are you? Now add 50 years from where you are. Maybe me, my age is quite a bit. If I add 50 years, will I even be around? I don't know. you as a student, you should be around. So add 50 years to what you have. Are you 16? Are you 17? Are you 18? Or are you 13? Add 50. So where will you be? And how old is your parent? Just see. Will you be as old as your parent or so on? 50 years from now, Montano says that he has traveled into the future. What did he say? I saw you working at a corner in a city, in a city as a cobbler. Do you know who a cobbler is? Is the person who repairs shoes on the roadside. Do you respect those people very much? I am not hating on any job, by the way. But if you're given to work as a banker and also given to work as a cobbler, which one would you take? And he says you were seated as a corner at the city as a cobbler. And then you looked severely battered and your nose was permanently running, if I remember very well. And then Alvita is wondering, me, a cobbler? Was it a nightmare you had or a hallucination? He cannot imagine that you're calling me you're putting me as a cobbler. And of course, the discussion goes on. And then Montano says, you are actually fortunate to have a source of income as a cobbler. Millions of young people were loitering aimlessly on the streets, villages without gainful employment. All of them were poor, hungry, and angry. Can you imagine that now Montano, Alvita was lucky to even have that cobbler's job because there was no job for millions of young people. There was unemployment, there was poverty, there was suffering. As we talk about those themes, those are the things we'll be looking at. And Alvita is wondering, you really are serious? You mean with all my education, I couldn't get a job? And Montano says, but then you couldn't get a job. And I want you to follow up on that conversation that is going on between those two young people. And you realize that Montano had seen very dark future. He talked about the climate change. He talked about the weather patterns. And things were different, the harsh climatic conditions. And there was no clean water. There was mismanagement of waste. But I found something very funny, and I thought it's a sense of humor. On page 6, he says, most of them, down there, the last page, he says, most of them, in fact, people who had no choice but to adapt to eating strange things like insects, chlorine creatures, rodents, and sea creatures that could survive the harsh climate. Can you imagine? People didn't have food. Now, they were actually eating the things that could survive the harsh climate. But all these were in a very short supply, even those ones that were not available. So most people had adapted to eating plastics, synthetic fibers, and other bizarre things I could not make out. Can you imagine? I saw you chewing a gunny bag at one point. It appears you can eat anything, Alvita. I thought that is very funny. When he says, when I saw what people are eating, you are among them, and you're eating a gunny bag. Do you know what is a gunny bag? Find out what a gunny bag is. And he says, it appears you can eat anything if you are able to eat that. And then he says, and he continues to say, life expectancy had dropped drastically. People are living a very short time. The disease and malnutrition, the crime, the rate of crime, the corruption, there was so much, the gangs, the militia, he had seen a very bad tomorrow. I would want you to just read that and please note down the things that actually he had seen and the things that he would have wanted to see. He had seen into the 50 years from that time. And Montano had seen a very bad tomorrow. And Alvita says, I will tell you, my dear Montano, lack of knowledge is darker than night. That's a very powerful statement. That lack of knowledge is darker than night. I also traveled into the future and I saw an entirely different world. Now, talking about the style of contrast, we are contrasting two worlds. The one Montana saw and the one that Alvita saw. What did Alvita see? You see, Madame Nicole is saying, really, tell us. And Alvita saw another world. What did he see? He saw a world. You see, people had become so creative that they designed intelligent robots that replaced even professionals like judges and police officers. So justice and law enforcement were rendered by machines to all people without discrimination. And then he says, there was so much justice at that moment because we didn't need to bribe any lawyer. We didn't need to bribe any judge. You didn't need to really human intervention. And they were fair. Machines were fair. The robots were fair. you didn't need to have people who are corrupt to interfering with the process. And he also talks about the invention and the creativity. He says drugs had been developed for regeneration, regenerating body cells in such a way that no one could grow old. Can you imagine? You see what Montana had seen? People are dying. Life expectancy was very small. But now for him, what he saw was that there was so much better drugs that had been invented, and so the body cells were no longer growing very old. And I remember seeing you, Mistress. You looked so young and beautiful at 250 years of age. Can you imagine? I think I like Alvita already. He could already see Madame Nicole at 250 years of age, because life expectancy went up. You looked very beautiful and very young. And then Montano says, Alvita, I always knew you had a fertile imagination. I can assure you no such future is possible given the current trend in our municipality. Then Alvita says, oh yes, it is possible. Through creativity, we had transformed human society so fundamentally that we did not even need jobs. Forget about cobblers and all that. Machines were doing all the work for us. Whole factories, hotels. I mean, this young man had seen so much, and invention, technology was really helping. Intellectual beings were and all that. And he talked about we had developed technology for cleaning an air of carbon emissions, which solved problems of climate change. The exact thing that Montana had seen that was so bad, Alvita had seen a solution for that. I'm wondering where both of them, what both of them were seeing. It seems like both of them were dealing with a very different world. And then Montana says, we better discuss which side of the fence that bird will fly when it comes to eventually decides to fly, rather than waste our time in idle musing. So finally, Montana says, I think we are wasting time here. Looking at the bird on the window, can we discuss which side it will fly? Because whatever we are discussing here may not come true. And we can see that Nicole says, I agree with Montana. If hospitals today barely have medicine, how practical is it to think that there will be a future where intelligent machines and robots will run them? From where will the resources come from? So, and that's a very important question. Alvita, you have a very nice tomorrow you have seen. I agree with you. But how do we, from where we are, if we look at where we are today, for us to get to where you'd want us to be 50 years from now, tell me, how do we reach there? And he realizes, actually, if we cannot handle our today, that 50 years, Alvita, you have seen, may not happen. And what we need to ask ourselves, what is it we need to do today? What is it we need to do today so that at least by the time we are getting to those 50 years, those things will happen? And I wanted to bring that to you because that is where the issue of the app comes in. And now they start to explain, this is where we are and we want to move forward. This is how we move forward. And he explains, now you can see that on page 10 down there. And he says, there is an app. There is an innovation we have come up with. And we have come up with an app. It is an app, a simple mobile application on which people share information, videos, texts and photos, just as they do on other social media platforms. The only difference is that we went further and developed what we call digital pigeonholes. And he goes ahead to explain what pigeonholes are. And he says that initially, when we started to do this, we wanted to talk about environment, we wanted to talk about, illegal activities that degrade the environment in our schools, in our neighborhoods, and so on, and help people to become better. And even, and we posted all these on the pigeonhole of the municipal department responsible for environment on the app. And of course, the response, the feedback was really very nice. And actually, that is how they were able to think, I think we can do better with this app. And of course, Alvita goes and people are sharing information on what the municipal council is procuring, how tenders are awarded, who win the tenders, whether those awarded the tenders deliver the goods and services required, the quality and the cost of goods and services supplied, the duration and the delivery and so on. Can you imagine? I think in Kenya we need this. I think we need this Samaritan app because it would really help us, because this app was able to really capture so much. And then Alvita says it can be shared with the Crimes and Integrity Commission in case of abuse and the procurement and delivery process. Now, I want you to note the first sign of problems we are having. At this point on page 12, Mayor Moses scratches his head thoughtfully as students clap for Alvita. Students are busy clapping, but Miamosi is not clapping. He's actually scratching his head and wondering, what did I just hear? Are those things going to happen? And so the beauty of all this is that that volunteers share information privately and anonymously, if they wish so, from the comfort of their homes or wherever they are. Just download the app. He goes ahead to explain what the app is about. And the discussion has gone on. They have explained everything. And Miamosi, it is your time to stand and launch the app. What does he do? Will he launch the app? Now he stands up. He says, please let us get this straight. Where did you get this information on procurement? For example, Alvita poses, looks rather startled and unsure whether to answer or not. She looks uncertainly at Nicole, who gestures her to respond to Mosi's question. Then he says, from the people. The information is always with the people. Then Ramdae says, which people? Then, now, because now you can imagine where this discussion, they don't like it at all. Waving on Robert Basdeo to stop and gesturing Alvita to continue. Please let her explain. And they go ahead to explain how that information they are getting from the people. And you can read that from page 13, how Mosi, rather harshly, he says, good people. All these good people around here, how do you know? They will not write lies. Now he's already started downplaying the app. He says, those people will write lies. And then Alvita says, people will take responsibility for what they write, as indicated in the terms and conditions of using the app. All users take legal responsibility for what they post. Miamosi does not understand what these young people are talking about. What do you mean that if people post wrong things, they will be held accountable? And he sticks to his gun that people will always tell lies. From day one, when he heard about the app, he fought it. And on page 14, there is so much about the smoke, him being the smoke that thunders. And he is not happy about it. He says, this is clear. That is on page 14. He says, this is clear indication that our school are nurturing visionaries and innovators capable of solving our municipal's practical problems. And of course, he starts to talk about how he likes the ideas, and these are very good ideas, and I like them. I encourage the young people and to keep on doing this work. But look at page 15. He changes the story a bit, and he says, "Don't you see? It might turn out to be a platform for misinformation, lies, and witch hunt. You see, last year someone spread a rumor that I had died. He just sent a text on some social media and it is spread like wild bushfire. And you know, I actually almost died. During that time, I accidentally swallowed a whole toothpick." Yeah, he swallowed a toothpick. And Ramdae says, oh yes, I see the risk. They might spread another rumor on this platform and you might swallow another toothpick. Yes, you will. I don't know whether that is humor or what were they talking about, because how do you swallow a toothpick anyway? Miamosi can do anything. The smoke without thunder can swallow anything. It was really an accident. So he's wondering, in this platform, if it goes on like this, what will happen to me this time? And Ramdae tells him, you may actually swallow another toothpick. I see a big risk there. And of course, now the discussion is going on, and they are trying to discredit the app, and they are talking about why it should not happen. Right now, we need to investigate. We need to be sure that it is the right thing. We need to be sure that nobody is going to misuse it and pass lies and all that. And Madam Narine, the principal, has something to say. She says, Your Worship, the President of the Republic is scheduled to officially launch the app at the national level early next year when schools reopen. We presently have some ongoing activities in preparation for it. I doubt whether this process can be stopped. It is important for us to note that this app is not just in the hands of these children and Madam Nicole. It's already gone past them. In fact, Miamosi and his group are not coming to really do something very important. It's just recognizing them because they are the municipality leaders. But really, this thing has gone already past their hands. And this point is important because later on, we will come across a situation where they are bullying Nicole to make sure that she stops this app, and this app does not carry on. And she tells them it's actually out of my hands. It's no longer with me. It's no longer with the students. Even the administrators are not us anymore. And so really, even if there was anything we can do, we can. And it's important for us to note that from the beginning, we have been informed that this app is beyond them. And the national government is doing something about it. And remember, this discussion is happening when schools, the end of the year, closing time. And so he's saying when the new year comes, maybe in January or their January, we will have the president launching it nationwide. And Harvester says, is that so? So Moses says, the president? It says, yes, sir. Why have you kept us in the dark about this? Then Naren says, the mayor's office has been duly informed. So Moses is like, I remember, but you never explained that what kind of thing is this. You should have... No, you still have to stop it. So you realize that Mayor Mosi, from day one, he didn't want this thing to go on. Even before he knows what is there, he does not want it to go on. He's actually convinced that this needs to be stopped, irrespective of how far we have gone, irrespective of who is handling it and who is in charge of it, it needs to be stopped. And down there, I would want us to look at it down there. And he says, Mayor Mosi says, with a raised voice, my good teacher, I am the mayor of this municipality, voted in by hundreds of thousands of people. Directly and indirectly, my decisions supersede those of the education official anywhere in this country. Do as I say, write a letter expressing reservations about this thing, technical or otherwise, then I will leave, and then leave the rest to me. Mayor Mosi is upset at this time, and he says that don't tell me about the education office, because the principal now and Nicole have gone on to tell Mayor Mosi, we can't stop this thing because I'm afraid, your worship, the assessment of the innovations was done by senior officers in the Ministry of Education. Experienced software engineers were also involved. It passed all the tests and no errors were found. Now, this discussion is, like I had said, it's so important because it helps us to see the authenticity of this app. That no matter what other things these people want to drag in about this app, we actually should know that it's not just a small project that is done by the students, and it is not meant to go very far. The Ministry of Education came in, and even experts, IT experts, software engineers, they looked at it and they gave it a go-ahead. They feel that this is okay. It shouldn't pose any threat to anyone. Nobody can misuse it, and so on. And they didn't have a problem with it. In fact, Mayor Mosi at some point says, think about it. You are at the center of it. Figure out a way, like writing to the Ministry of Education, indicating that there are some fundamental errors in it that you need to attend to. You get what I mean? Now, at that point, you can see the character of Mayor Mosi coming out very strongly. That one, he's proud, he's arrogant, he is egocentric, he's deceitful, because he's not even feeling shy and embarrassed to talk about those things in front of a young girl like Madame Nicole and, of course, the principal. And he is comfortably telling them, do whatever it takes, even if it means writing to the Ministry of Education, writing to the president, whatever, just call it back. I don't. And that sets the stage for what is going to happen in the text. If at all at the beginning, just in the last few minutes he's heard about the app and he's fighting it this hard, then we know that we are setting stage for trouble. And of course, now he has he talks about he continues to threaten, and he's told them to write a letter expressing reservations. And Nicole says, okay, I'm not very sure whether that is going to happen. And Mayor Mosi is not happy that this girl does not seem to understand what he's talking about, and says, I cannot argue with a simple chairman of a local school board, because the chairman came in and says, I am Mayor Mosi Oatunya, the smoke that thunders. I have been given express mandate by the people of Maracas municipality to protect their public interest. That is what I am doing, and that is what I must do. Can you see how hypocritical that is? That you people, can you stop this app? Because are you aware that I was voted in by hundreds of thousands of people, and I have responsibility to protect these people, the public interest of these people, because by the end of the day, it is me who is their leader, and I can't allow a small thing like this one, and he does not even remember the name, to mess up with the people who has given me mandate to lead them. But of course, we know that it has nothing to do with his people. He's actually, if he wanted to help his people, he would have allowed that app to go on. But it's ironical that he would even quote that. He knows that he's been given work by the people, but the same people, he's not serving them. And the discussion does not go on very well. And he goes on to threaten. He says, do as you're told. Go now, write a letter, and copy my office through your principal. I expect to find a letter in my office in 1 hour's time, latest. Now we're even threatening people. And Nicole, I want you to see this in the stage direction. She's raising her feet and nodding, but with a look of objection on her face. That is foreshadowing. We actually know that this girl is not going to write anything. That one statement that she had a look of objection on her face. She says, I will do what is right. She didn't say I will do the letter or not. She says, I will do what is right. That is the first time we start to see Nicole coming out very strongly. And it doesn't matter who you are, but I will do what is right. And so we are told Mosi and other guests stare at one another in silence as Nicole exits the hall. Her sharp footsteps can be heard reverberating in the corridor like castanets. I hope you can identify that as a simile, and so on. So if you look at that, if you look at this conversation that is coming to an end in scene 1, you realize that the stage has already been set, that Mosi is not taking it lying down. And he's not going to allow this to happen. And he is willing to threaten anybody who tries to come and make this thing work. Because he knows by the end of the day, he knows the rot in his office. He knows what he has done. It will actually expose him. And so, of course, Basdeo, you can see Basdeo and trying to calm him down and to make him feel like it's not a problem. We'll see what we can do about it. And don't worry so much. The opposition leader don't worry so much. We'll see what we can do about it. And that is the end of scene 1. And I hope that now that sets the tone for the text. It helps us to understand what the app is about, how it came about. Remember, it began with the environment. It had nothing to do with politics. And until now, later on, when it became credible, people are giving credible information, they realize this thing can be taken into another level. So that is it for scene 1. And I want us to go on to scene 2. So please join me for scene 2. Thank you very much.